They're calling Cape Coral the worst housing market in America. Prices are dropping, inventory is shrinking, and the media is sounding the alarm. But is this the market that's really crashing, or is this the opportunity buyers have been waiting for? This is your August 2025 Cape Coral market update, and today I'm breaking down what's actually happening behind the scenes. Yes, some sellers are cutting aggressively. Yes, prices are softening, but inventory is tightening, not flooding. And with just over 6 months of inventory, this is barely a buyer's market and far from a collapse. Buyers who act now could secure deals they'll be bragging about in a couple of years. Sellers who price right and market well are still moving homes. The window of opportunity is open for both sides, but not as long as you may think. Now, I'm Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral Waterfront Realtor. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, relocating, or retiring here in Cape Coral, click the link in the description to schedule your free strategy call with me. Let's block out the noise, look at the real numbers, and make your next move a smart one. All right, let's dive into the August Cape Coral market update and break it all down.
Welcome to your Cape Coral market update for August 2025. I'm Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral Waterfront Realtor. We've got a lot of great information to uncover. This is the August 2025 market update for the city of Cape Coral for single family homes. Inventory continues to decrease as well as prices. We're going to dive into all this great information and go over the essential details that you need to know if you're considering buying or selling here in the city of Cape Coral. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First up, we're going to look at market indicators. How do you know exactly what's happening here in Cape Coral? Well, we look at the numbers. The numbers tell us a lot. We're going to look at the numbers for the month of July. We're going to go back 3 months, and then we're going to go back an entire year to July of 2024. We're going to look at inventory. How many homes are currently available on the market? That's our supply. We're going to look at median price point. 50% of the homes sold above that amount, 50% of the homes sold below that amount. Days on the market, how many days are homes sitting on the market, and then closed sales. That's our demand. How many homes are actually exiting the market in closed transactions? So let's go ahead and look at the first indicator is active inventory. Currently in the city of Cape Coral, we have 2,822 single family homes available on the market for sale right now. This is on the MLS. Now in April 2025, we had 3,336 homes available. July 2024, 1 year ago, 2,603 homes available. So as you can see, we're definitely higher than we were a year ago, but compared to where we were back in January and February, where we had over 3,500 homes available on the market here in the city of Cape Coral, we've dropped quite a bit. And there's different reasons for that. Number one, we sold a lot of homes throughout the season, and we always see inventory ramp up around January, February in anticipation for the snowbirds that come down when it turns cold up north. So that's what we saw here this year. I think we saw a little higher than normal. We saw a lot of homes hit the market, and then we went through and we sold a lot of those homes, and we're starting to drop off quite a bit. Now the homes that are dropping off, number one, like I said, we sold a lot of homes, almost 500 a month for the last few months, but also a lot of sellers that didn't hit the price point that they were wanting or expecting are starting to take their homes off the market. So that's starting to decrease the inventory as well. Will we see another huge jump up once we get back into January, February of 2026? Quite possibly. We'll definitely see it ramp up. How much it ramps up, I don't think it's going to be quite like it was last year or for 2024, but I think, or 2025, but I think it's definitely going to ramp up for us once we get into 2026, and we'll see it start to decrease for the next few months. However, with 2,822, that's still a lot of options and opportunities if you are looking to purchase a home. Now, median price point. Prices dropped. So we were at $365,000 for the median price point in July of 2025. April 2025, we were at $375,719. And then 1 year ago, July 2024, we were at $389,000. As you can see, we have been just under the $400,000 mark for the last 12 months. Just playing with it right there at the edge. And then in February 2025, I think we hit $399,000 for the median price point. And since then, we have started to trickle back down once again. July 2025, $365,000. Are we going to continue dropping? I believe it's going to level out for the next few months. Once we get into next year, when the snowbirds return, we'll start to see it bump up just a bit. I don't think it's going to drop off a whole lot for the end of the year. Now, there's a lot of hearsay about interest rates decreasing twice by the end of the year. Now, if that happens, we're definitely not going to see prices drop. if the Federal Reserve decides to keep interest rates where they're at and there are no changes by the end of the year, then that price will continue to drop just a bit. So we're going to keep an eye on that. With inventory starting to drop as well, I don't think we're going to see that drop a whole lot over the next few months. Is it going to be back up to 400,000 median price point? Probably not for several months, but we're going to monitor that as well. If interest rates do come down, that could start to jump up pretty quickly. So pay attention, take advantage of the market. If you are in a position to buy, now might be a great time to buy. If you're in a position to sell, you might want to rethink that going into the slower months of the year. Days on the market, July 2025, 57 days on the market before it went under contract. April 2025, 52 days on the market, and July 2024, 49 days on the market before going under contract. Now, this is the median. This is homes that are average, that are from good to average. They don't need a lot of work. A lot of them are newer construction, and they are sitting on the market this long. As you can see our chart down here, we've been pretty consistent right around that 50 days on the market. It did jump up back in February and March because we had so many homes hit the market in December and January that several of them sat on the market until the inventory started to decrease, and then we started seeing them leave the market as well. Now we're starting to see it increase once again from April on up through July, and that typically starts to increase just a bit as we go into the fall months as well. Our biggest cycles here is going to be through from January until May is our snowbird season. So that's where we're going to see a lot of the snowbirds enter the market. And then we have our summer season, which isn't quite as strong as snowbird season. And then once we get to about August 15th, that's when we start to really see the market slow down until about the middle of October. And then it starts to pick back up again slowly. So these next 2 months for sellers might be a bit challenging just because the market, the amount of buyers that are here actually looking to buy is pretty slim. So with that being said, if you are a buyer and you're considering looking for a good opportunity, now might be a great time to start paying attention because you minimize your amount of competition if you're looking to buy through September and October. All right, July 2025 closed sales. We had 429 closed sales in July of 2025. April 2025, 497 closed sales. And 1 year ago, July 2024, 482 closed sales. So as you can see, we definitely dropped off year over year. Now this number will continue to grow a little bit more once all the numbers come in. We are early in the month. We'll probably see that max out right around 440 homes sold, but still a decrease from where we were last year. This year overall has been fairly good, but not as good as it was last year. During season, as you can see, we have been averaging anywhere from like almost over 500 homes sold to the mid fours, and now we're starting to drop back off again. We got off to a very slow start in January. This was one of our worst months for closed sales in the last several years. We were just under 300 closed sales in the city of Cape Coral, and then February was a little bit better, and then once we got rolling into our snowbird season closed sales, March, April, May. And just so you know, like if it closed in March, it probably went under contract back in the middle of January or the first part of February to close in March. So just so you understand how that works, even though it's showing high numbers in March, those transactions were going under contract back in February. And now as we go forward, we are going to see numbers drop off a little bit more into the fall. So 429, probably 440 is what we'll end July with. And then once we get into the next numbers, when we're talking about this next month, we may be under 400. I hope not. I'm hoping to see us stay above 400 sales for the month of August on closed sales, but that may drop just below 400. And if that happens, then we're going to, it's really showing a slowdown in our market. Months of inventory. I wanted you guys to be aware of months of inventory because this is so important when understanding the temperature of a market or the health of a market, because this is the amount of inventory for sale right now. If we didn't have another new home come to the market or another home come to the market, this is how long it would take us to sell out all of our homes that we have available right now. So if you imagine if you're in the grocery store and you have everything there and then they never got another shipment, how long would it take them to sell out all their food? Well, same thing with real estate. So how long would it take us to sell out all of our houses if another new home didn't come to the market? So in July 2025, right now, we've got 6.6 months of inventory till we'd be completely sold out. So 6.7 in April 2025, and then July 2024, 1 year ago, 5.4 months. So looking at these numbers, and just to explain to you, a neutral market, or what they call a balanced market, is anywhere between 4 and 6 months. And that's the yellow line here on the chart, as you can see. Anything over 6 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything below 4 months is considered a seller's market. So when you have the Wall Street Journal talking about the worst market in America, we're actually not that bad. If you look at 6.6 months of inventory, that's just barely into a buyer's market. Now back in January, February, we were quite a bit higher because that's when a lot of homes went on the market. Sellers always prepare their homes to sell during season here in Cape Coral. That's the best time to sell because you have the most amount of buyers here, which is an excellent time to sell. But obviously, as inventory rises, you have more competition when you're selling in that time of the year also. But if you think our market is terrible here at only 6.6 months of inventory, that's actually fairly low, just barely into a buyer's market. Ideally, we want to be between 4 and 6 months, but we're just over that, and we're going to monitor that. I'm sure that over the next few months, that is going to start to jump a little bit more. As you can see back last year, July, August, and then once we went into September, October, November, that jumped up, and we got to almost 10 months in the end of November, then we dropped in December, and then we went substantially higher in January just because of all that inventory coming to the market. So we're going to monitor that, but 6.6 months of inventory is certainly not a horrible market. Homes are selling, people are here buying, transactions are definitely happening. In fact, about 440 of them last month for single family homes in the month of July. Current trends. Let's take a look at the weekly trends. So the last week of June into July 1st, we had 164 new listings, 163 homes closed. We had 123 homes expire, went off the market, they didn't sell, and they went off the market. And then we had 126 homes go pending. That means they went under contract. And this is all weekly numbers. And then we had some price increases, actually. We had 45 price increases, and then we had 341 price decreases. Now, jumping forward to the last week of July into August 1st, new listings, we had 127. So as you can see, new listings are dropping quite a bit, which is normal this time of year. We don't see as many homes coming to the market because we don't have as many buyers here, and the sellers know this. 128 sold, substantially less than 163 sold in the last week of June. If we jump on down to expired, 105, so that's right on par. And then down to pending, 135 pending, whereas that we had 126 pending. So we actually had more homes go under contract the last week of July than we did the last week of June, which that one kind of surprised me. Price decreases are still happening, 329 price decreases. That tells me that sellers are still motivated and they're still decreasing their prices to align with the market. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that start extremely high and then they just play catch up and their house sits on the market for quite a while instead of pricing it correctly from the beginning. And then that's where they get into trouble. And then they're not sure, they're not understanding why their home's not selling, and it's just playing catch up. So it's great to understand the market and to price it correctly from the beginning in order to optimize your money. Other key numbers to be aware of here in the city of Cape Coral, we had $235 per sold price per square foot. That did decrease just a little bit from last month. List price received, 97.9%. So once prices do get aligned with the market, they actually do sell pretty quickly, and they sell at not much of a discount, only about a 2% discount on what the price is once it aligns with the market. We had 602 new listings come to the market in the month of July. And then, like we just talked about, months of inventory, we're currently sitting at about 6.6 months of inventory here in the city of Cape Coral. Key numbers. Inflation peaked in 2022 at 9.1%. We're now sitting at 2.7%. Now that did start to rise a little bit. We did get down to about 2.3, 2.4. I think last month we were about 2.5. And now we've jumped to 2.7. So we're going to monitor that. It's not a good sign. We don't want to see inflation rise because that means interest rates will stay high. We want our inflation to stay down below 2%, and we want it to stay there for quite a while. Interest rates peaked in 2023 at 8%. We're now sitting at about 6.72%. We're starting to see that trend down a little bit. Our target is 6.5% for an extended period of time. And if we get below 6%, I think that's where we're going to start to see the floodgates open and a lot of buyers enter the market, because there's a lot of pent up demand here in the city of Cape Coral. A lot of people waiting on the sidelines to see what happens. I talk to buyers all the time that want to buy here in Cape Coral, and they tell me, Barry, I just want to see what happens. I want to see what happens. I want to see if interest rates go down. I'm not comfortable with those higher interest rates, and they're waiting. But once those interest rates go below 6%, I think that's where they feel comfortable. I've talked to a lot of them, and that's kind of the consensus, that if they can see that go below 6% for a couple of months, then they will be jumping into the market. And then all that pent up demand, when that does come back into the market, that's going to start to increase prices. So I think it's going to be a slow process. I don't think it's going to happen fast. So you will have time. But if you are in a position to buy and you have the finances and the ability to do so, I don't recommend staying up north another winter. Get down here, buy your dream home, and start to enjoy the weather here in Southwest Florida. Unemployment is currently at about 4.2% and staying steady. Now, the jobs report just came out. We haven't had as many new jobs as been expected, so that number may start to jump up. It doesn't seem like people are hiring as many people at the moment, according to the jobs reports. So we're going to focus on that, but it's been right around 4%, just under 4%, just above 4% for the last few years. And if that starts to rise, which is terrible for employment purposes, but if that starts to rise, that would signify an unstable economy, which would then bring the interest rates down. So keep an eye on unemployment, inflation. That dictates what interest rates are going to be doing. Supply. Current inventory in City of Cape Coral, 2,822 single-family homes currently available for sale. That's a year-over-year increase of 8.4%. Definitely an increase year-over-year. However, if you've been sticking with me and you've been watching these market updates, you know that there were some times last year where we were seeing 40%, 30%, huge year-over-year gains in inventory. However, at 8.4%, that tells me we're starting to slow down the increase in inventory, which is a great sign for the city of Cape Coral, because we want to see that inventory get back. I would love to see it stand between about 2,500 and 2,700. I think that would be a very healthy market. Over 3,000 is just not where we want to see it. 2,800 is not terrible, but I would like to see it below 2,700. Is that going to fall much further for the next few months? Possibly a little bit more, but I don't expect it to go that much lower. Once we get into January, February, we're going to start to see a jump again. Population estimated now in the city of Cape Coral at 240,000 people. Now, the Wall Street Journal just put out the article on how Cape Coral was the worst real estate market in America. And if you didn't see that video that I put out, going through that, dissecting that article and going over each step and explaining it to you with numbers and how the market here works, and just give you an overall understanding, I'd recommend you watch that video. It does give you some really good insight into the worst market in America, as they call it. They called it a ghost town, that things were just falling apart and there was no one here. But there currently are 240,000 people living here, making us one of the largest cities in the city or the state of Florida. We're not small. We definitely have a lot of people here. It's not a ghost town. A lot of things happening here in the city of Cape Coral. Next 5 years, we're expected to hit 260,000 people, and by 2050, 320,000 people. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and we'll continue to do that. And for proof of that, if you go around the city of Cape Coral and you see all the development happening here, D.R. Horton just bought a $100 million property in the northern part of the city of Cape Coral. They're going to put over 3,500 homes there over the next several years. Companies like that don't come in and spend money on markets that are falling apart. So pay attention, take advantage of opportunity when it presents itself. But Cape Coral is not going anywhere. Is now the time to buy? I do believe it's still definitely the time to buy. If you're in a position to buy and you're looking for the opportunities, there are some good opportunities right now. I've been having some great success with a lot of my buyers and negotiations with a lot of the sellers here. If you do find motivated sellers or desperate sellers, which there aren't too many desperate sellers out there, but there are some motivated sellers. And if you can find them and you negotiate with them, you're getting some pretty good deals. So even if we can get you a 5 to 6, 7% discount off the list price, I believe that's still a better win for you than if you waited until the market goes down a little bit more, maybe another 3%, wherever it bottoms out at. And then you try to buy then, because you can have a lot more competition. So right now you do have a lot of options. We don't have as many options as we did a few months ago, but there are a lot of options. It is a buyer's market. We're getting to the end of summer now. We finished out the snowbird season. We had a little bit of a jump in the summer months. However, we're getting closer to the end of that now. And over the next few months, there's just not going to be a lot of buyer competition here. So if you are looking and you're the one going through the house and you find a house that you absolutely love, I highly recommend putting in an offer that makes sense to you. Sellers are willing to negotiate, and we don't know exactly what the seller is thinking unless we put in an offer in order to find out what they're doing. It doesn't have to be a high offer. It doesn't even have to be, it doesn't have to be an extremely lowball offer. I think that's not a great idea. But if you put in the right offers, you put in calculated offers, sellers are willing to talk and they're willing to negotiate. So if you do find the right property or you'd like to talk about that, go and reach out to me and we'll find you the right one. Is now the time to sell? Always a great question. Inventory is starting to decrease. If you do need to sell, and because you're moving up north, or maybe your job's transferred you, or something along those lines, or maybe you're just getting a little bit older and you need to sell your house and move back north again to be with family, I understand that, and we help a lot of those types of clients as well. So we can talk about that, talk about the value of your home and what we can price it at in order to sell it in the fastest amount of time for the most amount of money. Now, there are a lot of key points right now in order to get a home sold, but why do you want to sell? That's the biggest question. If you don't need to sell, it might be worth holding on to it for a few more months until we get into next year and see what happens with the market. What types of homes are selling? So the homes that are selling rather quickly are, number one, the homes that are priced correctly. Number two, the homes that are newer, they have updates to them. Maybe they've been updated, where the seller goes in and they think, oh, I'm home, I don't have to do anything at all, I can just move right in and go. And then of course the brand new homes. We still have a lot of brand new homes in inventory in the market here in Cape Coral, and those homes are selling rather quickly as well when they're priced correctly. So strategic selling. Now, if you do want to sell your house, you do have to have a strategic selling plan in place. You have to have social media involved. AI, artificial intelligence. If your agent's not using artificial intelligence, that's going to set you back a little bit. There's all kinds of tools that we use with artificial intelligence now in order to promote your property correctly, to get the most amount of views, and so on. And also an agent that understands the market. Now, if you're in a position where you're thinking you consider selling right now, you think it's time, or you need to sell right now, go ahead and reach out to me. Let's chat. Let me go ahead and pull an analysis on your property. We can either get together by Zoom, or I can meet you at your home if you're here in the area. We do a lot of work with out-of-town sellers and out-of-town buyers as well. So go ahead and reach out to me and we'll get that figured out. And the last thing that I'll talk about is my out-of-town buyers program. We've really had a great spring and summer here with out-of-town buyers. We've had them come in from all over the United States. And this last week, we just closed on a property here in Cape Coral. It was a brand new construction. The client called me and they said, Barry, I love this house. I want you to help me out. His wife flew in. I showed her the house. I showed her some other houses for comparison. I sent them back some video. And then they, while they were back in Ohio, I was able to go through and do the inspection for them with my inspector. And then I kept them up to date with what was happening. We did the walkthrough. They actually did the closing in Ohio. They weren't even here for the closing. They did that in Ohio. All the documents were signed. And then once they were closed, he drove on down a few days later and I met him at the house and we did the walkthrough and I explained a lot of things to him. It's just a great experience, and we do this all the time with our clients. I either start sending you homes, we have an initial Zoom call, we set up a strategy with what you're looking for, the different areas of Cape Coral, your price point, your budget, your canal system, if you want to be on a canal, how far out to open water. We take all that into account, and then we start to put together a plan that'll help you reach your goals. Once we find a house that you absolutely love, I'm going to go out to that house. I'm going to do a video tour for you. I'm going to video tour the inside of the house, the outside of the house, the canal system, just to give you an overall idea of what it is. And then once we find a house that you want to really like, we put an offer in on that house and we try to negotiate the best price for you. Once it's negotiated, you're typically going to have anywhere from 7 to 14 days to fly on down to make sure that you love that house before you're completely committed to buying it. And so that's what I always recommend. Let's have a conversation. Let's start talking about what it is that you're looking for. Let's find the right house for you before you fly down and start looking at every single house just to find out that maybe that wasn't the one. Once it's under contract, then that's when you fly down and we make sure that that house is the one for you. We'll do the due diligence while the inspection happens during that time frame. And then we can move forward if it's the one for you. Same with sellers. If you're thinking about selling your house and you're up there in Ohio, Minnesota, New York, you're just not here, but you'd really like to sell your house, you'd like some more information on selling your house, I'm happy to go over to the house and take a look at it, do a walkthrough. We can have a Zoom call, we can strategize and talk about selling your property. So if that's something you're in the market for doing, go ahead and reach out to me as well, and then we can put together a plan. So my link is right below in the description. Go ahead and book a Zoom call with me, shoot a text, email, call. I'm here to help you and to assist you learn more about buying, selling, retiring, and relocating here in the city of Cape Coral. My name is Barry Cessna, and I would love to be an assistant to you to provide you with the best information. So making realty dreams a reality here in the city of Cape Coral. Have a great day, and we'll chat soon.